And we're back, and that means it's time for the second half of our Grotmas detachment review. So we're just gonna jump right into it now with day 13, when we got a double dose of Eldari, or specifically Eldari and Drukhari. So is all space elves all the time that day, and so we know what the various detachments were going to be in the upcoming Eldari Codex, and this is one that is not... I don't think this was represented in the list.
It was not, and I don't think we know all of them because they said there's going to be 8, and I think we've only been told like 6 of those 8.
Yeah, so this...
That's true, yeah.
So I'm assuming this would be technically the 9th one?
Yes.
If it's not... Yeah. And this is the Eldari version of Oops All Vehicles, the Armored Warhost.
I mean, this used to be called Eldrad's Flying Circus.
Yeah.
Back in, 6th edition?
Yeah. So the detachment rule for this one is skilled crews. Ranged weapons for Eldari vehicles gain assault, and you can reroll advance rolls for Eldari vehicle fly units from your army. Which is
your
fine.
main vehicle units are also going to have fly, so...
Right. Like, the only ones that wouldn't would be, Warwalkers, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not bad. It's no free rerolls that you get in the current index detachment, but I have a feeling that detachment's going to change too.
Right. We've been told that that's going away. It's going to be shunted off to a Seer Council detachment. So,
but no, I'm not talking fate dice. I'm talking about how the battle host they have right now just gives you every time a unit shoots, it can reroll one hit roll and one wound roll. Right. So this is not as good as that. But we do not know if that is staying as it is either. So it's kind of hard to judge this compared to that, knowing that in a couple of months or so, within, probably by March or so, that's going away or changing. We don't know. So,
yeah.
But if you want to go all vehicles, this is not a bad one. And everything leans into vehicles here. So, your enhancements are you choose a psyker and a vehicle within 9 inches. You can guide a vehicle, basically, with a psyker. Just pick a vehicle within 9 inches. They can add 1 to their hit rolls. Harmonization matrix in your command phase. The bearer or the transport they're in is within range of an objective marker. Roll a d6. On a 3-up, you gain a CP. That's a nice, easy CP to get.
I wish it was more of a you just gain it, or maybe on a 2-up, but that whole you have to roll to maybe get 1. But it is nice, yeah, you could just put a character.
As someone who plays Tau and our ethereals only get them on a 4-up, I do not have sympathy for 3-up not being good enough, sir.
I think 4-up's not good enough either.
I agree with you, 4-up's not good enough.
Especially since you can just
I'm like, look, you get one on 3-up, that's pretty cool. It'd be better if it was free. It's shut up.
Well, an autark already does that unless the autark rules are changing.
Also possible.
Right. So, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Spirit Stone, Aureliath, Psyker, if they're within 3 inches of a vehicle. It's basically, this is what the Tech Priests have in the Night Detachment.
You mean it's a Bone Singer?
Yeah, basically, yeah. They stay within 3 inches of vehicle, they get low NOP, and can heal D3 lost wounds to that vehicle. Cool?
Yep.
And in fact, it says this Spirit Stone contains the essence of the Bone Singer Raylith. It's Bone Singer in a can.
Bone Singer in a can.
It is Bone Singer in a can. Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not.
No, you're wrong. It's a stone, not a can. Cans are normally made of aluminum. And
hey, in both cases, you can crack it open and eat the tasty, tasty contents within.
Oh my!
And then Guildful Strategist. If the army includes the bearer, after both players have destroyed their armies, redeploy up to 3 vehicles.
Destroyed their armies?
Deployed their armies. Deployed their armies. Sorry. Take a hammer and destroy your army. Yeah. So,
same diff.
Yeah. So basically, if the bearer's on the table after you've deployed your... Or, no, it doesn't even have to be on the table. It just says if your army has the bearer in it, after deployment's over, redeploy up to 3 vehicles, and you can put them back in reserves if you want.
Eldrad's Flying Circus. That's what this is.
Yes. And then, again, all your strats are for vehicles. 5-up, feel no pain against mortal wounds. Units can disembark from a transport after it's advanced.
That is very useful because I've used that a lot as Voton.
Yes. Vehicle can shoot when turn which it fell back. Deep strike a vehicle. Get the old Falcon Cloud Strike.
Right. I haven't used Falcons in a while, so I was actually surprised that they didn't have that rule built into them. I'm like, well, I could use a Wave Serpent. I need a Wave Serpent and a Falcon. Oh, wait. No, Falcons don't have that anymore. So, yeah, this is the only way you can deep strike in your Falcon or the Wave Serpent.
Right. And they do specify that if it's a transport, any unit that disembarks from it also can't be any closer than 6 inches, can't charge.
That's fine.
You know,
That's fine.
That's when you just dump out Wraithguard with D-Scythes and just make somebody's day miserable.
I mean, okay, like I said with the Custodes, I was thinking about the Walker list. The Eldaria list I was thinking about is like 2 Fire Prisms, 2 Wave Serpents, a squad of Fire Dragons, 10 Fire Dragons, and 1 of the Wave Serpents, and a squad of 5 D cannons with a Spirit Seer and the other Wave Serpent.
2 Millennia of Training, melt a gun.
Yeah, that's what I mean. One of those will deep strike in, the other one might be on the table, but yeah, I'll get close to people, pop people out, and then just shoot very, very damaging weapons. And see what's still alive.
Yeah. Soul Sight, which gives you the battle host ability on a vehicle for turn. Every time they're selected, you can reroll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 damage roll, which is nice. Being able to reroll damage rolls if you roll crap is always good. And then somebody tries to charge you, subtract 2 inches from the charge roll.
Which is nice.
Like if you want to play vehicle heavy, and there are definitely strategies that can do that, this is not bad. And again, it's hard to judge against, like, because we're kind of comparing this against what we know is, or what we guess is coming and changing. But it's not bad.
No, the biggest thing, though, they'd said is, like, if people are getting close to your vehicles, like your long range vehicles, you're not playing right. But the fact that you can advance all the time and still shoot your weapons, that's big, because now big. If people get close, well, you're just repositioning, and you already move. It's been a bit. I think it's either 12 or 14. Advance a D6, so you should be able to get out of most charge ranges each turn. Although I had one of the people were saying, yeah, I'm thinking of using like Keeper's Secrets and Shalaxi and trying out the Slanesh detachment. I was checking, I can't outrun you because you also move 14 inches. This is
as bad. They should. I mean,
but yeah, it's just I just see that, and then they can advance and charge. So even if I roll my D6, they can roll a D6. They'll be right on my tail still until they make that charge, and then I'll be sad.
Yeah.
But no, I for repositioning and just having vehicles that are going to move around, and with the redeploy at the start, if you take that enhancement, no, this is just a fun thing. And like we've said about so many of these detachments, this feels like a 6th edition throwback, because I mean, so it's kind of nostalgic.
Yeah, this one, and it's 14 inches on the vehicles. Like all your Falcon, Wave Serpent, etc., are all 14 inches.
But I'll still get caught up by those demon princes.
Oh well, but you know what? If that's the one army that should catch you up, that should be able to keep up with you.
No, I run away. I jink, right? I get a 4-up invone, right?
You do not get you do not get a jink.
Oh man, if they'd put that in here,
It is weird to me that we're getting a lot of nostalgia for objectively the worst edition of the game.
Hey, Kevin, we have stories from that edition, and as we've said in the past, this game is actually about making memories and stories.
Agreed. No, I agree. It's just like, in retrospect, 6th edition was like the worst edition of this game.
Sixth edition, good ideas, bad execution. This is a chance to do a do.
I mean, I still remember like having my Wraithguard with D cannons take out a monolith, and the guy was so surprised because it's the first time his monolith has ever died.
Yeah, I remember you doing shit like that to me as well and not liking it.
Well, D was a cool thing.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
I did the math. It was the same as strength 10.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
When it could just like, vehicle just explodes. You just roll 6, a vehicle just doesn't care how many dead, just gone. So let's move on to the other half of how the Space Elves live with the Drukhari detachment, the Reaper's Wager. This one could not be more different than its Eldari cousin. This plays wildly differently and is interesting because it lets you bring in Harlequins. In fact, it lets you bring in up to half your army as Harlequins. This is like the Brood Brothers of Drukhari.
Well, the nice thing about this is way back in the day, I mean, even before 6th edition, you could bring Harlequins with Drukhari. You could bring Harlequins with Eldar. Harlequins were actually in both codexes, and then until they
they weren't their own army. They weren't their own army list, and they weren't shunted only in. For a little while, they were not only in the Eldari book either.
Right.
And so this is very interesting because I say you can bring like half your army. You're going to want to bring half of your army as Harlequins, roughly, because of how this works. This is for people who are not familiar, or this one takes a little bit of finesse. So, at the start of the battle, there's a thing called the wager. The idea is this is Harlequin and Drukhari in a competition as part of a play, sort of. So they go on to battle with each other to see who can kill more. So at the start of the battle, the Drukhari are considered to be winning the wager. Every time a Drukhari unit from your army destroys an enemy unit, the Drukhari are winning the wager. Every time a Harlequin unit from your army destroys an enemy unit, Harlequin units win the wager. And while Drukhari units from your army are winning the wager, Harlequin units are losing it, and vice versa. Every time a Drukhari or Harlequin model from your army makes an attack, if the model's unit is losing the wager, so whichever side is losing, rerolls, hit rolls, and wound rolls of 1. So when the game starts off, your Harlequins get rerolls. If the minute they kill something, now your Drukhari get rerolls.
So you're just bouncing back and forth on which units you want to use.
Yes, and so that's why I'm like, this is this army takes finesse to use because you need to target things appropriately. You need to use the units that are right for the job. Like your Harlequins are going to be really good at dealing with infantry and okay-ish at dealing with vehicles, but your Drukhari will have more options for dealing with vehicles. They're also good at dealing with infantry. So you just
the Harlequins, the like haywire guns, take vehicles pretty good.
Okay.
Not as good as in previous editions now, but they're still your best way to open up those tin cans to get the troops out.
I don't know. Dark Lances are pretty solid choices too. So,
well, I leaning on the Harlequin side of things, yes.
Yeah.
On the Drukhari, Lances all day.
Right. Enhancements include if a unit is in a dedicated transport, the dedicated transport gets a 9-inch scout, and that can be given to either Harlequin or Drukhari. Harlequins can't be your warlord, but their characters can take these enhancements. Webway Walker, Harlequin or Drukhari, they gain Deep Strike. And if the unit that Deep Strikes is losing the wager, they can reroll charge rolls when they come out of Deep Strike.
Very nice.
Reaper's Cow, Harlequins get Stealth and Infiltrators, and Conductor of Torment to Drukhari only. If Drukhari are losing the wager, you gain a Pain token. If so, Drukhari now are winning. If the Drukhari are winning, discard a Pain token. Now Harlequins are winning. So you can trade Pain tokens to, you can trade a Pain token to lose the wager, or vice versa.
Yeah, you're manipulating it to how you need it to be at the time.
Yes. And it's you can do, not a must do. So you can choose what works for you. I think that one would be a must have in this. That's a must take in this, just to make it all work properly. And then a lot of your strats affect both Drukhari or Harlequins. Lethal or sustained hits 1, fight on death on a 4-up, subtract 1 to be hit, advance and charge. Can't be overwatched. Make a normal move if somebody is moves within 9 inches of you. If you're losing the wager, you get a full 6-inch move. This is just good general stuff, but it is going to require finesse to play properly.
Yeah, it's not game breaking. It seems fun and innovative, but I don't think we'll really see it on the table unless someone just is really wanting to try it out.
Yeah. And I would also say, like, if you see somebody bringing Drukhari and Harlequins, try just focus fire on one half of them, because that'll break the army again. Like, the detachment stops working at that point. That's the downside of this. It's like it doesn't work anymore.
I
after a
mean,
certain
if
point.
they focus on the Harlequin side, the Drukhari can still say we're winning it. And then at the command phase, yeah, we're winning. Or no, and where we're losing. That's right, because they want to be losing to get.
They want to be losing to get the rerolls. But the minute they kill something, they're winning.
I mean, yeah. But then in the end, the Drukhari can say, well, in the end, we might have lost the battle, but we won the wager.
Yeah, fair. This one, very fun for narrative play, though. Like, absolutely a blast for narrative. All right, moving on. Day 14. Orcs, or as my note, the orcs get the tactical brigade, or as my notes say, you're in Dagard now, boys.
So want to play guard, but don't want to buy like another horde army? Use your orcs.
Yes. So they get the detachment rule. Listen here. Once per battle round in your command phase, each boss, Snickrot, mech, and war boss model can issue tactics abilities. If so, select one or two of the tactics abilities below and select one friendly orc unit within 6 inches of them. If you selected 2 tactics, the model must take a leadership test. If they fail, they suffer D3 mortal wounds, as it just overwhelms their poor brains, or they beat each other up to try to figure out what they're doing. Until the start of your next command phase, the selected unit is affected by the selected tactics. A unit cannot have tactics issued to it in this way more than once per battle round, can't be given to battle shocked units. And the tactics are: get stuck in, you can reroll charge rolls, get on with it, add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons, sneaky stalkin', infantry and mounted models excluding meganobs, gain stealth and have cover against range attacks, or shoot a drills. Every time an infantry mounted unit in this army makes a range attack, add 1 to the hit roll. That one's huge.
Yeah.
And Storm Boy units from your army gain the battle line keyword.
So yeah, this actually seems lots of fun. Like, I do want to try running this.
I'm curious how the wording is compared to the Astra Militarum wording. So the one thing about the wording on this, okay, so Astra Militarum doesn't include the once per battle round. So it says once per battle round, each unit in your army can issue tactics abilities. So I'm guessing if you have multiple mechs, war bosses, and boss Snickrot, each one could issue an order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you basically get a full order system for your orcs. That's great.
Yeah.
And enhancements, you can attach a war boss to a commandos unit and it gains infiltrator and stealth. Attach a mech to a flash gits unit and reroll hit rolls.
That's real nice.
That's real good. Mork's Cunnin, orc model only after both players have deployed their army, redeploy up to 3 orc units. And Gob Boomer, war boss, or mech model only. Every time the bearer issues tactics and can do so to a friendly orc infantry or orc mounted unit within 18 inches and says 6, you got a Vox, basically. So,
Yep.
In fact, it says it's cobbled together from the remains of a human's Vox caster. So, yeah, this is a guard army just played with orcs. I love it.
So back in the day when they were still doing those, I don't remember the name of the company next that they're out of business, but there was that miniature like monthly order like box subscription that we had for a little bit. I got one of the Cromlech like orc commissar models, and yeah, this is now I finally have a place to use them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the mech captain enhancement, man, I'm looking forward to digging out and using the shock attack guns again.
Oh, yeah. This army leans into using like Storm Boys and Flash Gits and Commandos and doing like kind of a proper sneaky army. Very, regimented and disciplined the way any good Storm Boy force would be. So it's like, yeah, this one is both fluffy and I think good. Like, I actually think this is got some real potential to it.
Yeah, and I just painted my commandos, so
So there you go.
I just need to see how many Storm Boys I have.
There you go.
The answer is not enough.
Not enough. Never enough. Especially as now that they're battle line. But
yes.
now Tactical Brigade just looks cool. Like, and all the strats are just generally useful. Yeah, all the strats are generally useful. I don't think any of them are like, there's no big standouts, but they're all just very useful. Like, shoot and charge when you fell back, gain sustained hits when are lethal, add 1 to OC, have Storm Boys do mortal wounds when you charge, like, have the Storm Boys charge in and do mortal wounds.
Yeah.
Surge move after somebody falls back, and put a unit back into, put a commandos or Storm Boys back into strategic reserves. Like, those are all just very useful. So, yeah.
Yep. Upsy
Good
downsies.
Upsy downsies. Moving on, an actual guard detachment as we go to day 15, and we get, all Tempestus. I mean, technically it's not all Tempestus, but it definitely leans into Tempestus and other, like, elite style armies. So your detachment rules are only the best. Every time a Astra Militarum infantry unit makes a range attack, reroll 1s to hit. And every time a Militarum Tempestus model from your army makes a range attack in a turn in which it was set up on the battlefield from reserves or disembarked from a transport, add 1 to the wound roll. If a Tempestus officer is your warlord, your Tempestus scions get battle line, and while such a unit is not battle shocked, they get an extra OC. So yeah, they really want you to take Tempestus in this one.
Yeah.
Which does, like, I mean, it limits what you're going to want to take. You're looking at Taroxes for your transports and Valkyries, and they do actually have a detachment that targets Valkyrie, which means somebody might actually play a flyer once.
I don't
maybe
know.
not. Yeah, enhancements are, you can give orders to up to 3 different regiment units if you've got a Master Vox. You get a deep strike unit, gets deep strike and can deep strike on turns 1, 2, or 3, regardless of mission rules. Can't be overwatched or redeploy up to 3 units, including putting them into reserves. Those are all really solid. They have strats for 6-inch deep strike. Yeah, improving strength and AP for hot shotguns. Shoot in advance. Strip cover from someone. And put a Valkyrie or a deep strike guard unit back into strategic reserves, which that's important because you've got the Tempestus Aquilans now with they can deep strike Tempestus. And on my position, you can call down artillery upon yourself. Select a regiment infantry unit from your army that's within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Roll a d6 for each enemy unit within engagement range of your unit. On a 2-up, that enemy unit suffers d6 mortal wounds. Then your unit suffers 3d3 mortal wounds. I mean, kind of a suicide play, but totally thematic for like, yes, we have the enemy tied up. Now we call in artillery on ourselves. How very Soviet of you.
Yes.
But yeah, we didn't like the detachments they listed when they listed what was going to be in the Guard Codex coming up did not include a Tempestus detachment. So here you go, which again, kind of a callback to older editions where Tempestus were their own codex. So yeah, it's good stuff. If you want to play a Tempestus army, yeah, go for it. This lets you do it. And then day 16 dropped, and we got not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 detachments for Chaos Demons, 1 for each god. Woohoo!
So no Chaos Unaligned?
No Chaos. They have their own. They had like their stock one is the unaligned. So yes. And so we'll just work through all 4 of these. Each one is a legion of some sort. So first one is Legion of Excess for Slaanesh. This one's good. I'm just going to put that out there right now. Slaanesh demon units from your army can charge and fall back and charge, which is just huge. Good. That's a huge ability. And then this one's interesting. Seductive Gambit. All your Slaanesh demon units have the following ability. Each time this unit ends a charge move, you can declare it will perform a Seductive Gambit. If you do, until the end of the turn, you lose fights first. But instead, you reroll hit and wound rolls.
So when they say seductive gambit, do they mean the army or the player? Because I could see that being very dicey.
I think they mean the army, but
Oh, thank God. Okay. Oh, thank God.
and where I have seen this suggested as being particularly good is like, because like on one hand, like demonettes are made of tissue paper, and
Yes.
not having fights first is really bad for them unless they're fighting something that they know can't put out enough attacks to kill them
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
On the other hand, a keeper of secrets might be able to give up fights first to reroll hit and wound rolls.
Yeah, and also I guess it depends on if you segment how you like segment your charges and stuff. Because is it?
Yeah. It's on a unit by unit basis, yeah.
Yeah, but it's on the unit that you charge. So yeah, if you kind of segment out your charges and do one or two like charges at a time, you can selectively say, oh, well, this unit is going to be activated first, so they don't need fights first, so they could get this benefit. So yeah,
Well, if they're activated, thing is, on your turn, defender goes first.
Yep.
I guess that's true.
Yeah. So yeah, you would still need to declare, because it's the charge that gives you fights first.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you have it built in.
Right.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
But even then, the way this is worded, you would still lose that fights first.
Right.
Right, but what if you were going up against another army that had stuff that had fights first? Then
they
the
would
defender goes first, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you are going up against something else that has fights first, then you would totally give up fights first because you aren't fighting first.
Correct.
That is true. Yeah. So yeah, I can see situations where that would be useful.
Yeah. Or let's say, like Slanesh's army, like across the board, has devastating wounds on close combat weapons. Maybe I attack a tank. Tank's only going to have like 4 attacks close up and not likely to hit. But you could theoretically shred it if you can reroll hits and wounds.
Yeah.
Even with like demonettes like that.
Yeah.
So like there's definitely cases where, depending on what you're going, you have to know what you're like. You use it judiciously. Like you use it where it's going to do the most good. On the other hand, like I said, Keeper of Secrets, strength, T10, 18 wounds with a 5 up, 4 up. And like say they've got the Shining Ages, so they've got a 5 up, feel no pain.
Mm-hmm.
And you're -1 to be hit anyway. I can give up fighting first to reroll my 2s to hit and like my wounds.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. So there's definitely cases where this would not be a detriment. You've got an aura of Slanesh demons that aren't monsters, so like infantry Slanesh demons within 6 inches of the bearer. Add 1 to their wound rolls. Really good. Another one with same thing, but +1 to hit rolls. Avatar Perfection for Slanesh monsters, so Keeper of Secrets. At the start of each phase, if there are no other friendly units within 6 inches of the bearer, you can reroll advance rolls, reroll charge rolls, ignore any modifiers to your movement and to any advance or charge rolls. So if you're out by yourself, you reroll advance and charge rolls. Great. Or the other one for Keeper of Secrets, if 1 or more enemy models are destroyed at the end of the fight phase by this bearer's attacks, regain up to D3 lost wounds. So again, Seductive Gambit's not necessarily a problem if I know I'm going to kill you. Or Thieves of Pain, select a Slanesh demon army within 12 inches of another unit. Every time a model in your unit would lose a wound, inflict a mortal wound on the selected unit instead. So those demonettes over there, they're going to eat the wounds for this Keeper of Secrets.
Nice. I mean, it's just like the knight.
Or no, you can't. Okay,
his.
no, actually, I take that back. Other way around. The unit that is being targeted, who is losing the wounds, can't be a monster, so it can't be.
Okay.
The
So to keep your demonettes alive, the big ones will take some of the wounds.
Yeah. Or
Which that's
like
still big because say like you lose 3 demonettes, that's a lot of attacks you're losing. And
Right,
3
yeah.
wounds off of a keeper is nothing.
right. Yeah, actually, a lot of like some of these target like 1 monster or 2 non-monster. Like add 1 to the wound roll, another add 1 to the wound roll. Oh, you've got a Slanesh monster. Every enemy unit in your Shadow of Chaos area has to make a battle shock test. Or
See, my
move
favorite
through
one is
terrain
the
features.
Phantasmal Longing. Yes.
I was going to say
move through terrain.
move through terrain features. do mortal wounds in your charge phase, or overwhelming excess. Anyone who attacks you has to take a battle shock test, and if they fail, they can't attack. They can't attack your unit. I mean, this one's just really good for Slaanesh. It just
it
really,
seems
really
fun. It leans into both having demonettes and the monsters, be it demon princes or keepers. And I'm curious to see what it could do. I know one of our players here wants to try it out. He gave me his 1,000-point list since I'm the one bringing the models for him. And it was a Keeper of Secrets, Shalaxi Hellbane, Demon Prince without wings, and the mask. And that was the entire 1,000 points.
Oof.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard to deal with. He said he wanted to try out the Demonettes things, but man, those Keeper of Secrets and the Shalaxi Hellbane are just too good. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Moving on to a different god, we'll go to Tzeentch next with the Scintillating Legion. This one's interesting because you're trading rerolls with your opponent. You start the battle with 3 flux tokens. You can spend a flux token just after you make an advance, hit, wound, damage roll, saving throw, or hazardous test to re-roll that test. Or you can sometimes spend them to power some stratagems. Every time you spend a flux token, you reduce the number of tokens you have by 1, and your opponent gains a flux token. They can spend theirs after they make an advance roll, hit roll, wound roll, saving throw. They can't use it for the hazardous checks, but they can do all the other, like, advance, hit, wound, or save. They can make a reroll. If they do, they lose a flux token, you gain a flux token. And then in your command phase, if your opponent has a flux token, you gain one. So you're always going to, there's this constant give and take, which is very Tzeentchy. Like, it's going to be a little bit of bookkeeping, because you're like, okay, here, I'm going to give you this token. Okay, now give it back. Okay, now I'm going to give you one. Now give it back. Okay.
I mean, it doesn't seem too bad. You just have dice set up for it. Here's my 3 dice.
Right, they even make suggestions like, yeah, use dice to track how many tokens you have, or and how to do it with, like, fast rolling. So they kind of work that into it. There's the detachments to give you an additional flux token if your opponent has one. Enhancement for selecting, like, shooting through someone else. Measure range and line of sight from another Tzeentch demon unit within 9 inches of you. Improving your melee weapons, or having an aura of 4+ feel no pain against psychic attacks and mortal wounds. So, I mean, all generally useful stuff. And you can just spend a flux token to make your opponent's deployment zone or no man land your Shadow of Chaos. Cool.
Nice.
Or no, okay, so you spend a CP to pick one or the other, spend a flux token to do both, which basically means the entire board is now in your Shadow of Chaos. That's actually really good, because Pyrogenesis lets you add 2 to the strength of weapons equipped by models in your unit, or spend a flux token and add 3 instead, and improve the AP. So a couple of these let you spend flux tokens, and again, every time you spend one, your opponent gets one. But this one seems very flavorful. It's interesting. I like it. And then Kevin will go to your favorite god with the Blood Legion.
Nurgle. Oh wait. Oh yeah. That one.
Which gives you a very
Wait. Kevin forgot about this one.
The one you forgot to download, yes.
Yeah, the one I forgot to download ahead of time.
Yeah, somebody ends a normal or advanced move within 6 inches of you, you get a d6-inch surge move. Although we know that's one per, like each one can do that once per turn.
Yeah. That's good. Like, surge moves are good. Berserk. That's one of the things that makes Berserkers really good. So yeah.
And sticky objectives.
Always good as well.
Always good. And that plays really nicely with the Shadow of Chaos thing, because as you control objectives, you'll get Shadow, so you can, like, get on an objective, control it, and then move on to kill things. So
yeah,
that's really solid. Also, probably one of the best stratagems for Khorne demons, Sheathed in Brass. Like when somebody shoots one of your Khorne demon units, you just give them a 3-up armor save.
That's nice. That's very nice.
Yeah. Because that's traditionally been one of the weaknesses of an all like invulnerable save assault army is your saves don't get any better.
Yes.
So
you get plinked away by small arms fire. So
Right.
yeah, it's good to have that in your back pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is fun. I've kind of looked through it to see if it gives any like hints or ideas for like what world eaters might get, and I don't know that it necessarily does. But yeah, this seems like it'd be fun. Khorne demons by themselves still run into problems of that. There's just, again, with all things, there's so few units and they all kind of do the same thing. So having the ability to sticky objectives and actually hold objectives in an all Khorne army, that's huge. So the blood surge move or surge move is like good, but typically Khorne is fast enough, like with juggernauts and greater demons and hounds and stuff like that, that it's nice to have, but you know, it's movement's typically not a problem, but being able to hold objectives, that's huge.
Yeah. No, that's really solid. And like you can now you have to destroy an enemy unit within range of an objective marker, so you have to take an objective marker from somebody to make it sticky because you've coated it in so much blood that it's now yours. But
I mean, that's not a problem with the Khorne army. So
absolutely not. So, but no, this one is cool. You also get a move through terrain stratagem. You can actually like get a ranged attack of sorts with skulls beget blood. Basically, you just throw skulls at somebody, and mortal. Like you get skull grenades.
That is very funny.
Yeah. Yeah, an advance and charge. After an enemy unit falls back, you can charge them immediately.
No, that's very good. Yeah. Like it's all the things it's all the objectives, stratagems that you would expect for a Khorne army. But yeah, you have them. That's good.
Yeah. And then finally Nurgle with the Plague Legion. And I don't think this one quite hits nearly as interesting or strong as the others. Melancholic Miasma. When an enemy unit is within 9 inches of one or more Legion, Demonic, and Nurgle units from your army, that unit is within your army's Shadow of Chaos. In each player's command phase, select one enemy unit within your army's Shadow of Chaos. They must take a Battle Shock test. If it could be done to anybody within 9 inches, like every enemy unit within 9 inches of one of your Nurgle demon units had to take a Battle Shock test, that would be more interesting. But it's just like one, it's okay.
I mean, was this once per battle or once per turn?
It's in each player's command phase. So in each player's command phase, you select an enemy unit within your army's Shadow of Chaos, which is based on objectives you control or within 9 inches of one of your Nurgle units.
I mean, I think that's fine because, like, I'm thinking of the Tyranid Shadow of the Warp where it's everybody, but it's also once per game.
So it is more. So it's basically going to be twice per turn because twice per battle round, I should say.
Yeah. It's not as interesting or as useful as some of the other ones, but I do kind of wonder, because Nurgle is the all demon army that is like the most fleshed out, has the most units, has the most like stuff. I kind of wonder if like their detachment's not quite as good, because you can already kind of easily play mono Nurgle demons because you just have so much more variety than the other ones. Whereas like playing mono god like Slaanesh or Khorne is very dicey. So I don't know, maybe they felt they needed to tone this one back a bit. I don't know. It's not bad, it's just not as good as the others.
Right, yeah. And now they do have a couple like really good strats. Like Merc Shadows gives you an extra 5 inches of movement to a normal move. That's huge because that's Nurgle's other problem, is they are slow.
Very slow.
Add 1 to the hit roll after you make an attack. Okay, so having being in your Shadow of Chaos is actually not bad because like Fever Visions, after you fight or shoot, target after you add 1 to the hit rolls, and after you're done making your attacks, the enemy has to make a battle shock test. Okay, that's not bad. They get to move through terrain feature strat as well. Critical hits on 5s, which is good because like all your stuff has lethal hits, and being able to return destroyed models to one of your units is really good, or heal D3+1 lost wounds to a monster. It's like there's some good stuff here for Nurgle. It's just, I think, that detachment rule doesn't feel as cool as it could. It doesn't. So I don't think it's terrible, but I'd rather play the Slaanesh one with my Slaanesh models than the Nurgle one with my Nurgle models. Is kind of where I come down on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, moving on to day 17. We're moving to a separate army now, finally. We get to the Leagues of Votann, the Hearth Band. Woohoo! So you give up getting extra judgment tokens, and instead you get Methodical Annihilation every time a League of Votann model from your army makes an attack with a weapon, not counting Blast, that targets the closest eligible target or that's within engagement range. You reroll hit rolls of 1, and if your unit is a Call, Einherjar Hearthguard, or Uthar the Destined, you improve the armor penetration by 1.
Decent.
But are there enough units that take advantage of that?
I mean, are there enough units in the Votann line is the other question.
True. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, this is pretty much, we've had the Oops All Warriors, Oops All Vehicles. This is an Oops All Hearthguard, because the Hearthguard already have the 3-up ballistic skill. They've got they've got the Volkite Disintegrators, which AP0 is really rough on. AP1, they're actually kind of cool. And then if you happen to roll your Devastating Wounds, really nice. And then reroll hit rolls of 1. Yeah, you're already hitting on 3s. It's very solid for them. And you always want to have a leader leading them, so you could have a champ lead them, and you still get this benefit because it's still a Hearthguard unit. Or you can have a Call leading them, or the Call or Uthar could lead warriors.
Actually, did they add the Einherjar Hearthguard keyword to the champion? Because they don't have to.
If you are an attached unit, you gain all the keywords of both units.
Gotcha. That's right.
Which is why they did not have to put the champion on here.
Because the assumption is, since that's the only unit they can join, you're going to bring one attached. Okay.
Right. So it's very solid for them. But to your point, Rob, yes, giving up choosing 4 units or 3 in the smaller games to start out with 2 judgment tokens is huge. Because that's a big benefit at the start, because all of your other things other than Hearthguard are 4-ups to really attack with. And that 3 to 4 is a big difference. 2 to 3 is a difference, but it doesn't seem as big as that 3 to 4 jump. And so if you're running a lot of warriors or vehicles, Sagittars, etc., this was not the detachment for them, because you need those judgment tokens to get to that 3-up hit roll.
Right.
But for Hearthguard, no, this is really nice, because the armor pin is great and the stratagems are going to be really good, and the enhancements. This is really Hearthguard focused.
Yeah. So like your enhancements are every time you're targeted by somebody within 12 inches, the AP gets worse by 1.
And that is an enhancement is just huge, because, like I said, you could even put it on the champion, and the champion, you might not have to worry about invuln saves on your
True
Hearthguard.
Or for a Call, after shooting phase, after the bear has shot, select an enemy unit that was hit by one of the attacks and suppress them to make them -1 to hit.
Kind of cool.
Kind of cool. Iron Skin, add 2 wounds.
I just like that one.
Or the High Call detachment, which fight on death on a 4-up.
Which I've seen so many times that the Hearthguard just fold in melee, because if you can get past their armor, if I fail a save, most things do 2 damage. These guys only have 2 wounds. So being able to have a fight on death is really handy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and because this is also a detachment that is not going to give you much benefit from like Magna rails and things like that. This is a get in your face, get up close.
Yes.
So
Yes.
because you don't get the benefit unless you attack the closest possible target. So
Yep.
But also being able to get things like strats for like a 4-up invulnerable save or a 6-inch pile in.
Yeah. And I mean, that 4-up invulnerable save is kind of taking the place of the void armor.
Yeah.
I don't
Which is actually
know.
better than void armor now, because void armor would only work against one set of attacks and not the whole phase.
Did they word that it's only for the armor pin ones?
Yes, all the armor pen ones only
so
work
since
against
this is
one
just
unit's
giving
attacks.
a unit. Okay, so this is tons better than
Breckenauts is not much better now.
So I mean, yeah, that's huge. And then I mean, where was the other one? The rapid fire. Oh my gosh, your Fury of the Hearth. Because you've pretty much got plasma guns you can deep strike in with. You'll easily be within the 24 inches range. So you can have, and they're one shot. Well, suddenly if I'm deep striking within 9, I've got rapid fire. So my 5 or 10 shots is suddenly 10 or 20 if you've got the full squad of 10. And those just, and then also the other one, that superior craftsmanship to increase your damage against monsters' vehicles. I mean, it might not seem like much, but if you had a, again, squad of 10, that's going to add up really quick to be able to chunk down those monsters.
Right. And then you've got a 6-inch deep strike 6-inch deep strike stratagem and fall back and charge. Yeah, there's a lot of good tools here. It's just, it is a trade-off on that detachment. This is one where it's like, I really wish they had a codex so we could see what the other detachments they had.
Yeah.
So you could kind of get a feel for, because it is not a good generalist detachment.
No, it is not a generalist detachment at all.
No.
But in a way, we were kind of predicting it might be a Jaeger detachment. I'm kind of glad it isn't, because that means Jaegers might get more focus in the codex when it comes out.
Yeah, I can see that.
They need an enhancement or a strat that lets them do mortal wounds to somebody just so they can call it the Jaeger bomb.
Well, maybe that's a stratagem for when you have your pioneers drive over somebody.
There you go. Just, Jaeger bomb. Jaeger bomb, dude.
But and Hearthguard are a very easy unit to they have a detachment for, because they probably won't get one in the codex because they're only one unit, really. And so having a detachment centralized around them, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And I'll say it poorly. The competitive players are using a lot of the 10-man squads of Hearthguard. So they're already taking the max size units. So this just leans into that more and makes that even more deadly.
One thing that would have been cool for this as like a little tweak, if it made Hearthguard battle line.
Oh my gosh, yes. Although,
man.
the problem with that is, well, no, for a 2,000 point army, that'd be fine. For a 1,000 point, you're already pushing the limits.
Right, but like for a 2,000 point army, if Hearthguard were battle line, and then this would basically be Dwarf Wing.
This would be something you don't want to deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they'd made that change, then oh my gosh, this would probably be the only, well, it would not be the only one, but yeah,
because it's like
both of them would be really good.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where like, oh man, that feels like the one piece that would really kind of make this really click. But it's not bad as it is, but it could be better.
To your point of like the codex though, it's like at some point when you get 4 or 5 options, then like this one with some of those other things might be good. But like right now, if you made them all battle line off of this would be the detachment you take. So yeah, I could see them maybe making a change in the future and like updating it or changing it when more options are available.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think this is a cool idea.
Yeah, it's a neat idea. All right, moving on. We have day 18 when we got Gene Stealer cults with the final day. Now they've had a detachment for like the uprising itself, but this is that detachment for when the Tyranids actually show up. And this one is kind of reminiscent of the Chaos Knights one as well. So really neat idea. You can and also a good throwback to back when they all fell under Army of the the hive mind armies, where you could ally them together. So you can include up to 1,000 points of Tyranid Vanguard Invader units, excluding aircraft Broodlord and Gene Stealer units. And that's good, so you don't have, well, these are the regular Gene Stealers, and these are the pure trained Gene Stealers, and there's my Broodlord, and there's my Patriarch, and all of this interacts. But no, they didn't do that, thank goodness.
Yeah.
But this still gives you things like Winged Hive Tyrants, Gargoyles, I think, Trigons, Lictors, Von Ryan's Leapers, stuff like that. So you still have a lot of options. And the detachment rule beyond that is Psionic Parasitism. At the end of your movement phase, for each Tyranid Synapse unit from your army, you can select one friendly Gene Stealer cult unit, not counting pure strain Gene Stealers or Patriarchs, and one friendly Tyranid unit within 9 inches of your and visible to that Synapse unit. If you do, that Gene Stealer cult unit from your army suffers D3+1 mortal wounds, and one model in the selected Tyranids unit regains up to that many lost wounds, and until the start of your next movement phase, each time a model in the selected Tyranids unit makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll. You literally eat them to heal.
Yep.
But at the same time, they have a 6... Tyranids also give off a 6-inch aura of Gene Stealer cults get +1 to hit. So it's very reminiscent of the Night one, but even more, like, very clearly, the Tyranids are eating the cultists. So this one seems like it'd be a blast to play.
Yep. Yeah, just I'm gonna take like half a Tyranid army and just as cheap a Gene Stealer cultists as I can take, and for the other half, and have some fun.
And you know,
It's a very I didn't realize the Tyranids would eat my face kind of scenario.
Right?
Yeah.
What I also think this plays really nicely now with the changes to Cult Ambush, because now they can eat up a unit of cultists, and when that unit dies, you can spend points to Cult Ambush them back into play.
Yep.
Amazing.
And then you've got enhancements like for the Tyranids, like Tyranids model only for Synaptic Augur. Every time they would heal wounds from the psionic parasitism, they regain up to twice that number of wounds instead, so you can really help keep a unit alive by just feeding it cultists. Enraptured Damnation, units can't overwatch this unit. That's for Gene Stealer cults characters. Vanguard Tyrant for Winged Hive Tyrants, improve the strength and AP of melee weapons equipped by the bearer by 1, or Inhuman Integration. Gene Stealer cult models only, where weapons equipped by the models in the bear's unit have sustained hits 1 as long as they're within 6 inches of a friendly Tyranid unit. So you have +1 to hit and sustained hits 1 within 6 inches. And then, yeah, your strats kind of play back and forth on whether they're good for Tyranids, whether they're used on Gene Stealer cults, but really good, like, hybrid synergy here. I really like this one. Just looks fun. Just looks fun to play. And for all those people who had like Tyranid and Gene Stealer cult armies together, like you, Richard, you can now use them together.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Day 19 brought us Sisters, the Champions of Faith. And this one came out at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Boy. So question, actually, before we get into this, would it have been better if this came out before the data slate and they took it away, or is it better that it came out after and you already knew and you were already disappointed?
Okay, I will give you that one. I think if it came out before, we would have been brokenhearted.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
So the detachment rule on this one is Righteous Purpose. And I'm going to tell, and you're going to really understand real quickly where like, oh, this is so painful. In your command phase, you can discard up to 3 of your miracle dice. This is where I would discard my miracle dice if I had any. For each discarded, you can select one Adeptus Sororitas unit from your army. Until the start of your next command phase, that unit is righteous. While the unit is righteous, add 1 inch to its move characteristic, add 1 to its leadership characteristic, and improve the weapon skill and ballistic skill characteristics of weapons equipped by Battle Sister Squad, Celestian Sacrosanct, and Paragon Warsuit models in that unit by 1.
I mean, those are the main 3 squads I use.
Yeah.
And you also, all your Celestian Sacrosancts get an extra OC as part of the keywords section.
I mean, this sounds amazing. Except for the Miracle Dice part.
Except for the Miracle Dice part. Now, like, you look at the other pieces of this, and they're not bad. Like, the enhancements, ignore modifiers to ballistic skill, weapon skill, or modifiers to the hit roll. It's okay. Mark of Devotion, add 1 to your melee attacks, while you're righteous, add 2 to attacks and 1 to damage. That's great. Eyes of the Oracle, what your weapons have precision, and every time you kill an enemy character, you gain a CP. And also figure, these characters are likely going to be attached to Celestian Sacrosanct units as bodyguards, because, like, why wouldn't you? And then Sanctified Amulet, and 12-inch bubble of no reserves. Like, no deep strikes or reserves around you. Pretty good, pretty solid. A lot of the strats get better if the unit is righteous, so, like, there's a 6-up feel no pain against mortal wounds, but if you're righteous, it's a 5-up feel no pain. Heart of Heresy, improves strength of your melee weapons by 1. If you're righteous, they also improve their AP by 1. Path of the Righteous, you can pile in 6 inches or consolidate 6 inches instead of 3. If they're righteous, you don't need to be closest to the nearest enemy model, as long as you're closest to the nearest enemy unit, so you can kind of move around a bit differently. Like, if a Celestian Sacrosanct unit was selected as an attack, they're -1 to be hit. And if you're righteous, they can pick another Sacrosanct unit within 6 inches that would also get the same benefit. Or you can shoot in a turn which you fell back. If you're righteous, you can shoot and charge after falling back. Like, all these are not bad. They're better if you're righteous. It's just the cost of being righteous is so high, especially when you get 2 Miracle Dice, like 1 per battle round guaranteed, and then 1 if in a phase that you lose any units. You're really not going to be able to take full advantage of this until, like, turn 3, turn 2 if you're really lucky.
And by then, some of those units might be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this one, you can tell this was designed before they made the Miracle Die change. If we had the old Miracle Die generation where it was,
then this would be perfectly fine.
Yeah, it was once per turn, and you got Miracle Dice every time you lost a unit. Yeah, I would have no complaints. I would be like, this isn't bad. It's an interesting alternative. It fits in with the others. This is really hard. It's like, the intention is good, but it's really hard to use. Now, I have seen a suggestion, and I think we talked about this a little bit before recording, that one thing that would fix this in the face of the reduced Miracle Die generation we have is that if Celestian Sacrosancts and or possibly Paragon Warsuits, but, like, at least one of those already were considered righteous.
Yes.
And it was the Miracle Dice that made other units righteous as well.
Yeah.
Yes, that would make this a lot better.
Yeah. No, then this would be, I mean, honestly, that would probably make this one of the stronger detachments available. And especially because, and not just like, well, yeah, because Bringers of the Flame, like, this would have made this an interesting companion to, like, Bringers of the Flame even pre-nerf. Like, it would have been like, oh, hey, there's a couple of interesting ways to play this.
It makes me wonder if there's any possibility that they might FAQ some of these in lieu of, like, the balanced data slate, like in January.
Yeah.
Because they've mentioned that there's some other FAQs that are coming out and some other updates. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one that they make an adjustment to in lieu of, or in light of the changes to Miracle Dice, because this one particularly was clearly designed before those changes came out.
I would say possible, hopeful, but guess what, Kevin? These are all in PDF form on the internet, so they can just make changes, and it's golden. We don't have to buy a book.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just let us know that it's been updated and we're good to go. Yeah.
Re-download it, and the app can get re-uploaded with the changes.
Yeah. No, it's very easy to do this. It's almost like digital distribution's a really good way to keep a game updated and keep rules current.
Funny how that works out.
Weird.
And obviously they can distribute rules digitally for free. We're reading like 28 pages or like 28 detachments, which is like 56 pages of this.
Remember like 3 weeks ago when we were like, oh my God, we won't have anything to talk about.
Well, they fixed that problem. All right, moving on to day number 20. And we get Blood Angels with Angelic Inheritors. And this is, I don't want to say necessarily oops all characters, but it is definitely a character-centric detachment. But that's fine because Blood Angels armies often run character heavy anyway. And not just like named characters, any character you want. So if you want to use generic characters, you can use those as well. Which, hey, leans into what I was saying saying before about like, hey, you can run Blood Angels and not run any Blood Angels and still get like the improved Oath of Moment ability. Sure, go for it. Because there's enough generic captains and librarians and chaplains to make this work. But it does still work with your named characters. So if you want to run Dante or Mephiston, you won't be hurting.
You just made me think of something they missed out on, Rob.
What's that?
The Space Marine was the Librarius Conclave.
Yes.
Where's our Space Marine Lieutenant detachment?
Oops, all lieutenants.
Yes.
So the rule for Angelic Inheritors is Legacy of the Angel. At the start of the first battle round, select 2 of the Angelic Legacy abilities listed below, because the idea is they are channeling Sanguinius himself. Until the end of the battle, those Angelic Legacy abilities are active, and their effects apply to all Adeptus Astartes character units from your army. Your options are Sanguinary Grace, you can shoot and charge after falling back. Carmine Wrath, every time you make an attack, reroll hits and wounds of 1. And their appointed hour, you can reroll advance and charge rolls made for this unit. Those are all good. There is not a bad one in that group, and you get to pick 2 of them. I would think if you're going to play aggressively, Carmine Wrath and Appointed Hour are going to be the ones that you take most often, but also the fact that you pick it on the battle round means you're not like frozen in at like list generation. So
you just might frozen in if you go second.
Well, that's if you are going to face another army that is going to be more assaulty or you're going to get stuck in more, then you take Sanguinary Grace so you can fall back and charge again. Yeah. So, yeah, you kind of look at what you're playing. It's like, okay, yeah, it makes sense for me to pick these 2 instead. But even that's not necessarily a problem because some of the enhancements like Troubling Visions, once per battle, a character can just get all 3 Angelic Legacy abilities for a turn. Blazing Icon, you can't be overwatched.
I love not being able to overwatch when I'm charging people.
Ordained Sacrifice. If you die, first time you die, roll a d6 on a 2-up, you get back with 3 wounds.
Once per day when you die.
When you die, yeah. and then the least powerful, the least interesting of these is still fantastic. You get Scout 6 inches. Like, these are all good. Like, none of these are bad. And then your other strats, obviously you have Armor of Contempt. Focused Fury, you have lethal hits when you fight. If the unit's a character unit, they get Lance as well. Strike Now for Glory, your ranged weapons get sustained hits 1. In the Shadow of Great Wings, you basically get 18-inch lone op when you're targeted. Unto the Burning Skies, uppy downy. And it's uppy downy if you're not in engagement range. If you are the Sanguinor, it's an uppy downy if you're in engagement range. So the Sanguinor can just pull out. And then finally, it's not the last one listed, but I want to list this one last. Instant of Grace. Select a non-character model in an infantry unit until the start of your next command phase. Your model has the character keyword. So you can give a unit all the angel legacies that you have active once a turn. So Yeah, this is great. Like, the Liberator Assault Force is still probably the more generally useful, but this is totally fine. Like, this one, it does make your characters bigger targets because they are the linchpin of all this stuff working properly, but your characters are also really good, and one of them will likely get up after it dies, so...
Well, and also, I don't see a ton of precision out there. And so characters with bodyguards are normally safe. They normally die after their unit dies.
Yeah.
And, like, to be fair, that was always kind of the way you took out a Blood Angels army anyway, is you had to take out the characters because they rely on them so much. So
Right.
you're not really putting yourself in, like, a different or worse situation than you would have been in already.
Right. Honestly, if you could take the same Blood Angels army, because again, as you said, they tend to be character heavy, you could swap back and forth between this and Liberator Assault Force without changing your army build at all and just play slightly differently. This is a solid attachment. It's a good flavorful choice. I really like it. Then moving on to day 21, we got Tau finally. Woo! And there was a little bit of bait and switch. I'm just going to say that because on the end of the Blood Angels day, they said, and so now we're going to move to the detachment that likes to play with its shiny toys, the Tau. And I'm like, ooh, yes, vehicle detachment. Come on, give me my tank, make my tanks awesome, make my storm surges, and make my Taunar awesome. I want to do this. And instead, we get the auxiliary cadre. Do you like Vespid and Kroot? This is your detachment.
Look,
Now-
slave races are shiny toys, right?
Oh, man, did you have to put it that way?
Yes. Yes, is the grimdark of it is the grimdark of the 41st millennium. Yes, I have to state it that way. And now I made you feel bad.
Yeah.
The prisoners with jobs are shiny.
No, okay, but to be fair, there's a lot of people who were hoping that there are a lot of Tau players who do like that multicultural, all these races coming together feel of the Tau Empire. And other than the Kroot detachment, like the Kroot hunting pack, we didn't have a detachment for that. So it's good that this exists.
Absolutely.
This is not one I'm terribly enthused by, because while I have Vespid and I have Kroot, that's not why I play Tau. I play Tau for the big robots. So It's not me. It's not a my thing, but it's not bad. So basically, your Kroot and Vespid units have a 9-inch bubble of non-Kroot, non-Vespid, non-Titanic Tau models get better AP. They improve the AP of attacks by other Tau units within 9 inches. Tau units, not counting Kroot and Vespid, have a 6-inch bubble of 18-inch lone op for Kroot and Vespid Stingwings. So your Kroot and Vespid make your wounds stick better for your other Tau, and your Tau make your Kroot and Vespid harder to target.
That sounds like a fair trade.
Yeah,
like
it's
it.
kind of an interesting synergy thing. I think someone in our Discord said that they were kind of disappointed that they didn't just give Kroot and Vespid the greater good ability so they could target for each other.
Yeah.
And I think that would have been better than the AP rule, but and it would have been simpler to put in. But I understand they want to keep that being more like a Tau specific Tau technology thing. So fine, what have you. Your enhancements. One for Kroot Shapers that let you deep strike Kroot Carnivores or Kroot Farstalkers, which, okay, not bad. Admire Leader, Tau Empire model, excluding Kroot, so no Shapers can attach to this. In your command phase, select a Kroot or Stingwing unit with, Kroot or Vespid unit within 12 inches. Until the start of your next command phase, they get better leadership by 1 and better OC by 1. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Fanatical Convert, Kroot model only. The Bears unit has for the greater good. So for 10 points, you can give 1 Kroot unit greater good. I withdraw my complaint.
I do agree it would have been nice if you could have given it to all of the units, like as the detachment rule, but I like this a lot. Like I like this kind of mixed arms, like mixed army type thing that like not no real other army has something like this. So yeah, I think it's neat, and I like cool alien models. Now that Vespids aren't garbage metal models, I really like this.
Right. And then finally, like, you can basically you put this on a Tau Empire battlesuit character, and that can deep strike, and you can use Kroot or Vespid as homing markers, as homing beacons during your first movement phase. So like turn 1, you can like infiltrate like a unit of Kroot or something, and then just deep strike in near them. So that's kind of a neat idea. And the strats are kind of split between being good for Kroot or Vespid. You can give them better AP, reroll hit rolls, wound rolls of 1. If it's Kroot or Vespid, they can reroll the wound rolls, which, especially with some of the Vespid guns, is really good. You can get like a free bit of movement at the end of the fight phase. You can like auto advance Kroot or Vespid 6 inches. Shoot after advancing, unless they're Kroot or Vespid, in which they can shoot or they can shoot or charge after advancing. And then guided fire, you choose a Tau unit from your army that's not Kroot or Vespid. Add 1 to the strength of their weapons. If the unit is wholly within 9 inches or more of a Kroot or Vespid, add 2. That one's actually not bad, because that can get some of your, like, hey, get your melta guns up to like strength 11, which is really nice. Or like, there's a lot of weapons that could get a lot better in this army with just like an extra point or 2 of strength. So like there's some good stuff here. And if you are you want to play that auxiliary hybrid army, this is a lot of good tools to do that. The only downside is that a lot of the auxiliaries are very fragile, and you don't get the extra like invulnerable save Kroot got in the Kroot detachment. So yeah, so you're gonna suffer a little bit on this one. Like they are going to feel like prisoners with jobs, because they are going to be picked out first.
It's one of those things where, honestly, like, it's not as cool as the Kroot hunting pack, which is like all Kroot, oops, all Kroot. But like, this is a fun way to play. This is a fun thing that I've wanted represented in Tau armies for a while. And this is the first time in a long time I really feel like they've encouraged people to play this way, because it is either all like, oops, all Kroot, oops, all battle suits, things like that. So having a more kind of diverse army, a diverse looking army, for sure is fun. And I think it's going to hopefully it'll get some of these units, which obviously, yes, have new models. So, but like, hopefully to get some of those new units on the table and, give them a little bit of love. So yeah, I like it.
I also am not surprised this wasn't in the codex, because they weren't ready to reveal the new Vespid yet. And I don't think they would have dropped this before they had plastic Vespid to sell to people. So, and I think let's not delude ourselves. There is an element of, hey, you play this army, wouldn't you like to buy these models to work in?
Oh, for sure.
But also with a lot of these armies, I feel like especially a lot of the ones where you can like take in allies, like we mentioned, like, well, in Drukhari, they used to be able to have Harlequins in their army. So there's probably a fair number of like Drukhari players who have access to those models already. There's a lot of Gene Stealer cult players who probably have access to Tyranid models already. So like that doesn't necessarily, strike me. And there's a fair number of Tau players who like, I already wanted these because like I wanted to do that fusion army. So they may already have these models. And this detachment, like none of these detachments are like so amazingly powerful that it would change, like it would make you go out and buy a whole additional army or like units from additional army just
other than
to
the
run
Necron
them.
One.
Well, the Necron one, like if you like, yeah, I could see a Necron player being like, I got to get some more vehicles, but most of these are like, hey, if you already have these models, this is a cool way to run them, and like they're not so powerful that they're like, oh, you must play this now, with the possible exception of the Necron one. I will agree with that. And then finally, what was released this morning on the 22nd, on day 22, Black Templars got the Wrathful Procession. Now, Black Templars right now, your detachment rule is they're like one of 4 vows you can pick, and you pick it at the beginning of the game, and that's the rule you have from then on. Now with Wrathful Procession, you instead choose one of the following 3 litanies at the start of each battle round, and it's active until the end of the battle round. But these are not like you pick it and you can't use it again. You can have the same one up multiple times. So your options are Chorus of Relentless Hate, add 2 to your move and 1 to all advance rolls. Rite of Perfervid Wrath, that's not perverted, it's Perfervid, which means hateful. Add 1 to Strength for your melee weapons. Or Chant of Deathless Devotion, models in this unit have 5 up invulnerable saves. Now this only affects your infantry and mounted units. So this is like your horde army. This is like your on foot or on bike horde Templar army. Those are all good abilities. There are definitely times in the game where you're going to want to use those more than others. Like turn 1 is probably a good one for the move characteristic, or possibly the 5 up invulnerable save, depending on what you're fighting. But again, the fact that you can pick this every turn lets you be conditional. But unlike, say, the Penitent Host for Sisters, you're like, it's not like use it and then it's gone forever. Like that would be another way to fix the Penitent Host, is make it more like this, where you could just use a different vow or oath every turn and just reuse them.
Nah, that doesn't seem right.
Sure, but it's fine. I'll let you know how it goes after.
Yeah, let me know how it goes. Let's see. Strats include models in your army have models in your unit have stealth. Once per battle, gain fight first. At the start of the fight phase, every enemy unit within engagement range has to make a battle shock test at -1, or chaplains giving devastating wounds. or their melee weapons gain devastating wounds. Like all of those are generally useful. A couple of them, the Pyrebrand and Terramon Censor, are Black Templars only, so they can only be on like Castellans and Marshals. Can't be on like generic chaplains or anybody. And then they've got like a strats for 5 Feel No Pain Against Mortal Wounds, which is a nice counterpart to the like Suffer Not the Witch to Live. Mm-hmm. You've got precision on your melee weapons. Worse, Armor Contempt, obviously. Reroll hit rolls of 1 in the fight phase and ignore any modifiers to your weapon skill or hit roll or wound roll. 3-inch range of who can fight rather than 1 inch, rather than base to base. So like so you select a unit that's within engagement range, hasn't been selected to fight yet. Until the end of the phase, when determining which models in your unit are eligible to fight, it's anybody within 3 inches of one or more enemy models, which means you could just pile in a whole bunch extra attacks.
That's pretty cool. I do like that.
And then a final one, which lets you run a second litany for a unit, or and a different, so you can run 2 or run a different one. It's not 2. It's you use that one instead. So it lets you change. So like if you have a unit in your command phase that needs to move somewhere, you can give them Chorus while everyone else has like Deathless Devotion for the 5 up invuln. So it's nice. It's flexible. It's an interesting alternative. I don't think it's necessarily better or worse. It's just different. I do think that the one difference is, I believe in the other one, in the index for Black Templars, their index detachment, I think, doesn't just affect... Yeah, it affects everything that's Adeptus Astartes, not just infantry and mounted. So you're more like you'll get these benefits on vehicles rather than just infantry. So either way, they're going to be interesting options. I don't know if this one's quite as strong as the generic one, but it's still interesting. Whew. That's a lot of detachments to talk about in one episode.
It's a lot.
And we still have 2 more to go.
But that's all we're doing now.
That's all we have. Unfortunately, we cannot see the future. We know the next one. We know day 23 will be World Eaters, and that means day 24 will be Space Wolves. I'm curious to see what World Eaters get, because that'll be kind of a hint in what they can do with such a small army list and what kind of options they can
all
put
8 bound.
I hope it doesn't suck.
I mean, what are the chances?
Yeah. When is GW ever given bad rules to chaos?
So crazy predictions like Oops All 8 Bound would be one. Maybe like pick another faction
Well-
and treat those rules as yours, and except you only can melee with them.
Well, Oops All 8-Bound was basically like the Red Angels
Yeah.
like rules from 9th edition. So, I mean, they could just bring that back and it would be totally fine.
I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of these detachments feel like older edition ways people
True.
played.
Well, no, because that's the army rule. Because I was like, I wonder if bringing back like the older version of like the Corn Demon Kin, like Blood Tithe, but that's the army rule. That's not really the detachment rule. So like movement shenanigans maybe, or the ability to like ally in demons. Actually, the ability to ally in Corn Demons is probably what we'll get, and give them like some of the same, like give and let them benefit from like the blessings of Corn or something like that.
Yeah.
Or something with War Dogs. I know that's been another thing that people have ran a lot with World Eaters is Knights and War Dogs. So maybe some ability to ally in other things just to give them more options, because like we don't really need like more movement shenanigans. And I say that as like I will absolutely take more movement shenanigans. Other people don't want me to have more movement shenanigans. So yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, I don't know. Maybe something that kind of gooses like invuln saves or something on certain units to make them benefit more from certain blessings more. I don't know. There's a few options.
Oops All Vehicles. That's what you get.
I mean, people have been speculating Oops All Demon Engines, and I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I don't hate it.
It could be interesting. But anyway, so yeah, I'd say for the most part, these detachments have been good. They are definitely flavorful. There's a couple I think that are near misses. I think let's see. I think my biggest miss is the little lumps of coal hidden in the stocking. I'd say the Thousand Sun one doesn't quite hit the mark, especially when you've got the Grey Knights one that is just that but better. The Nurgle Demons one not as strong as it could be. The Sisters one,
Ouch. Yeah.
yeah, the Sisters one just came like wrong rules at the wrong time. Read the room, guys.
Well, to be fair to GW, they didn't know they were going to be FAQing this stuff. I'm sorry, was that too sarcastic?
That no, just sarcastic enough. I think it works. And then I feel like the Votan one could just use a little something more to make it a little.
I'll
bit
agree.
more...
It could use a little something more, but I mean, I think it's okay as it is. But if it had a little something more, I would not complain.
Yeah. So it's like that. A lot of these are really close. A lot of them are. I would definitely want to try out for the armies that I play. Like, so other than those few where it's just like, not quite as good. But yeah, for the most part, these have been really good and also free. I'm not going to complain about the price.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, this is, I mean, they've done like different Advent things with like, they've done a lot of Advents in the past have been like, here's a little bit of like Black Library stories, like little audiobooks or short stories, things like that. And those are fun. Those are cool. But man, this is been a really neat one game wise, and again, as I mentioned earlier, it really highlights the strength of this edition where you can swap out detachment rules and have a completely different way to play. None of these feel so rules heavy that they feel cumbersome. And like all of them are like, yeah, it takes an army that already exists, takes the existing units and takes it in a very different direction. So I do really appreciate that.
And the other thing it's done is just get the people talking about 40K. The discourse of it is, I see so much. They're talking, hey, did you try out this detachment? Hey, what do you think's coming up next? So just that discussion of what's going on in 40K is really nice in what could be kind of like a slow period as we wait for the next battle data slate. Balanced data
especially
slate. Wow.
Yeah. Well, and especially when they're like, well, yeah, we're not like Blood Angels come out and then we're not doing anything else for 40K. We're not releasing anything else till the end of the year. And it's like, oh, wow, it's a quiet time. No, it's not. Then they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, we actually were going to do all this. By the way, here's new. And even if they had just said, hey, we're going to release a few detachments for a few armies that need some help, that would have been one thing. But it's like, no, everybody gets something.
And that's the other thing I like, because how many times have we felt like there's been haves and have-nots because they're like, oh, we're only going to hit a few of them that need it. Everyone feels like they got something.
And at least, you know, the promise, at least at this point, that these detachments are going to remain valid after new codexes come out. So, like, you know, the guard one isn't going to be invalidated in a month, you know, or 2 months whenever that army comes out. So, yeah, like that's the thing that I really like about this. I think they've done a really good job with this.
Yeah, and it feels like that the armies that don't have codexes, they're not left. Like you said, they're not left out of this, and the ones that do have codexes, like just the Blood Angels ones, like, wow, this is this definitely fits in with how Blood Angels play. It's one I didn't think was necessarily missing at the time, but it's like, hey, this is nice to have. I think the Dark Angels one does feel like something that was kind of missing from the Dark Angels book,
or Space Marines wasn't missing, but man, I find that very intriguing and interesting for all librarians.
Right. And like, I've seen a lot of Tau players, even on like the Tau 40K subreddit. It's like, there are people like, no, I don't really care about this because I want to play the giant robots. But then you see players like, well, I'm really happy with it because I did want to play like the whole coalition of species thing going on. So
right. And early on, didn't we talk about that a lot? We wanted to see lots of detachments that just meet each of the different play styles that people want to use.
Yeah.
This answers that.
Yeah. I think the biggest winner here, even though I didn't like the Nurgle one as much, is Chaos Demons getting 4 god-specific detachments rather than like one just kind of generic mush together detachment for that was huge, giving people who are like, I like playing Slanesh, I like playing Nurgle, I like playing Khorne, like giving them, here's a thing for you so you can play this army the way you want to play it. Love that. Absolutely love that. Yep. Well, this has been a long one, so we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Obviously 2 more to go, but we will talk about that in the new year, because I don't think we're recording until probably after the 31st, because we're going to be on, because we'll be on Christmas break, so we'll see you all in a couple of weeks. Until then, from all of us here at Preferred Enemies, I'm your host, Rob.
Kevin.
Dennis.
And Richard.
Good night, good gaming, happy holidays, and a Merry Grotmas to all.